Okay, so today I made a few design tweaks. Gavin helped me out this morning, much appreciated. We talked a bit about the header. You guys have seen something similar last week, and this is the newest version of Layers. And Layers is software to version control your media online. And just quickly running through the interface, you can click this button right here. The most important button on the site is to add a layer to something else. And there's actually this white content here. I say content, it's a canvas, and there's no concept of content anywhere else on the site. So everything you'll see on the site is a layer or a layer on top of a layer. Our home page, our about page, our contact page, all of the things on the site are going to be built as layers instead of standard DOM so that people can build on top of them. And if they want to give feedback on the home page or the about page or contribute driving directions on our contact information page, anything like that is welcomed and encouraged. So I don't know how to change the URL in this presentation mode. It's not super important. Here, this title hooks up with the URL, and layers.com/#/anything will bring up that layer. So we're on the tiles layer right now. I'll try and quickly get out of presentation mode if I can. There we go. And go to the home page. This morning the home page had some content on it, as it would when you really use the site. And the content initially will be a video or some other form of content actually explaining how to use the site. And then people can then give feedback on this layer about layers. This gets really meta, but give feedback on top of the layer that's explaining how to give feedback. So ideally when somebody first comes on the site, if they approach the home page, they'll have instructions on how they could go about contributing on the website. If I click this plus button, that would be the button to contribute to the website. Literally just broke this minute. I'll quickly run into my code, and I'm not going to try and fix it, but if I happen to, that would be awesome. I'm using Polymer as well, and WebStorm, of course. And what's neat about the application is if we look at, I don't have any good examples, but here I'm defining a bunch of custom elements. And there's things like text and image and geometry and a generic item. And I'm making custom HTML tags for all of those things. And then you can define attributes on those HTML tags like you can normal HTML tags. So on the image tag, you can do something like this. Layers, fabric, image, you give it an ID of whatever. That was weird, that was a word. You can give it a property called video, and that will mean this image is now a video. Give it a source, and that's the video, the link to the video. You close that off, and if that were inside of a layers tag, that would generate a resizable video that you can add and manipulate in the same way as any of the other content. And quite a few of you have seen this working today. It's really annoying that I broke it 5 minutes before I got on. But I guess I'll take a quick break and get some feedback, and if I could maybe show it, that's Slack, in another minute after talking, that would be really cool. Does anybody have any questions? Or?
You done?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Good job. It
Thank
looks
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
I
Try and
saw
get
it
it back
this
up
morning
here.
and I was really impressed with it. What we were talking about this morning was that
Matt has all these buttons up here, and it looks super nice because you have this like blank canvas and you like really want to put stuff on it, and I think that's a nice like feeling to have when you look at this product. And you know, the search is there and the name is there. It's just very neat and nice looking. And I started asking about what these do. And this one gives a tile view. So it's going to change the view of what your layers looks like. This one here is your profile page. So it's going to bring you to a new page. And this one here is going to pop up a modal where you can share it with people or invite people. And this one's going to create a new layer or a fresh slate. And this one's going to add a layer, which at the time was going to change some content over here. And one thing that's really, really important with user interface and thinking about the user experience is that when you have buttons in one section like this, if you click one of them and something happens, like let's say this part of the page changes, then clicking all of those should be like pretty similar, right? So if you have one button that changes this and another button goes to a new page and another button's a modal and another button changes to view, it's really confusing. And Matt has an interesting design challenge here, which he's going to have to spend a lot of time thinking about and getting a lot of input from people in the group, because he has this minimal interface, which is super nice, and you have this big canvas, which is really clear and it looks really awesome. But then the simplicity of the icons, you don't really know what those icons do. And I didn't realize that this one was like your profile, right? And I thought this one, I didn't know what the difference was between the two pluses and the fact that one of them's like a new layer and the other one adds an object to an existing layer. Like that was confusing to me. So what Matt's gonna have to spend a lot of time on what he's already started thinking about is what are like the primary actions. And he said the most important action for layers is to get people to actually add a layer, right? And so we played around with the concept of maybe putting like the plus sign like right here. And it's like the only thing on the canvas is like that plus sign. But then we thought about, well, what happens if somebody has like a full screen layer? Like, so on Photoshop, you'll notice that you get a blank canvas and they never put any buttons on that canvas, right? So that's a challenge for Matt because he has this one action that he wants people to do. And it would make sense to put it like in this corner or the bottom corner or the top right corner. But then maybe that's breaking like his clean canvas. So he has to think about that a lot. This one is going to like change the view down here.
Right.
So maybe that needs to go in a different place. This one's going to add people. Maybe that needs to go in a different place. So you need to somehow organize those buttons into like the category of the action that's taken and the effect that they're going to have on your interface.
Yep.
And somehow group those in a certain way so that it's like really intuitive to a user. So we talked about this one, instead of going to profile this person, you're not really sure what it does. Maybe in the far right corner, you should just have the word profile, right? Because that's really common on a lot of sites. So the profile or the account is in the far right corner. And there was a login button before, right? Well, that should just be one thing. It's a login or it's profile. When you're logged in, it says profile. When you're not logged in, it says login. That type of thing, right? And well, what about the register? You need people to register. Well, maybe that's just one thing. Maybe when they click register, or maybe when they click login, they have the option to register if they haven't already. Those types of things, but just keep it kind of really simple. So I think you have a great place to start with, and it's like an exciting position to be in because you have this interface that looks really awesome, and then it's similar to design where we started talking about being like nitpicky with pixels. You have to be so like nitpicky about all of the actions in the page and how intuitive it is.
Yeah.
And you could maybe make this, there's opportunity to make this even simpler and even more intuitive, right? So you can like, those things don't like contradict each other. They can like the simplicity can be really intuitive, right? So just focus on that. And right now, maybe just because those things look cool, but they don't actually do anything yet, maybe just remove them. And maybe the only thing you have is a plus sign. Maybe you can't even log in yet, that's fine, right? You just have this one thing, you want people to add layers, we'll just put one button there, and that's it.
Yeah, great. I definitely am going to switch the words, or the login profile things to words. This will probably stay closer to this right drawer over here. And I don't know what I'll end up doing with the tile view. That might be somewhere in the bottom. One of the things that I didn't talk about that maybe I should have was how the tile view is going to work, where there's standard websites, you have news feeds, and you scroll, and it's an infinite scroll like Heather was talking about. And one of the problems I noticed is that the content's always moving. And like, how are you ever supposed to digest content that's always moving? So I had an idea, drew it on the chalkboard over there, where you can make a tile and give the tile a filter. So you could filter by hashtag or by user. And then when you scroll, it goes to older and older posts or less popular posts like any other network. But it will populate the tiles that you define. So your news feed looks the way you want it to and shows you the content that you are interested in seeing, which I think is pretty cool.
Just to pick up on what Gavin said, when you're looking at it from a usability standpoint, think of your users and what they're using. So your ideal end user, what do they use on a daily basis on the web? And then go to that site and see, okay, what are the common heuristics that are already built into that page? So what is intuitively that, where's the search, where's the home button, where's this? Because if you can map over what they're already used to using, build it into your app, then the experience is going to be so much easier for them. They'll just go and it's intuitive, they can use it. So,
Yeah.
Trying to understand who that end user is and what they use, and then trying to map that functionality over, they could help it a lot.
Do you clearly understand who your end user is now?
I'm gonna focus initially on like social image meme sharing type stuff. It's a big market, and they already like version media in this way. It's not the most interesting thing to me. I think it could be used for maybe more exciting things, but it's done a lot, and it won't be hard to seed content. I don't think if I have to go on 9gag and paste images onto my site all day long, I'm okay with that. And a similar site to, I guess 9gag is one of them, also Imager, has this image sharing platform with the ability to add captions and stuff to images.
There was just two things. One of them is like just a small design thing, but if a website doesn't have their profile and settings in the top right, I find it very frustrating if I gotta find it. It's just kind of intuitive now that profile stuff and settings stuff is up in the top right corner.
Okay.
So I keep that in mind, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree. And then the other thing was, you get to the front page of layers, and it's all like the first thing that you see is make content. You don't really, you have the video there, I understand that, but something like Reddit, for instance, where I go on there and I see what other people have done, and then sometimes I contribute. Well, like Reddit is more of a, it is content driven, it's user content driven, but you can also be a passive lurker.
Yeah.
And maybe if you put more focus into the creating content, but also have that option for lurking and it be visible like when you first get to the page,
yeah.
then for somebody like me, it would be a little bit more user friendly to jump on board. I get to see there and maybe I get to browse around a little bit. It might be like four times I'd visit the site before I'd ever make something, but then eventually I'd see like, oh man, that guy's an idiot. I like comment on his stuff or draw a dick on it or like do whatever.
Yeah. One of the things that isn't included in this interface is the ability to navigate through sublayers. So this homepage layer would probably be among the most popular layers on the site. It's the homepage, so hopefully people are going to add content to it. And you'd be able to see all of the content that other people added on top of this main layer. So it's the homepage, and it will talk about creating content, but it's also going to have all of the replies and layers that build on top of that particular post.
So my request for that, because we've seen something similar like this, like, the design and stuff, and it's gotten better and better and better because you're actually building the application, you're doing the real thing, would be maybe for the next time to present, just to do like a Photoshop design of that and what it might look like.
That's a good idea.
Instead of actually like taking the time to build the thing, it'd be cool to see what it will actually look like.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna give like really direct advice, which I think you should, based on the spiel before, but something you should try is just get rid of the search bar, because search doesn't do anything yet. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, and get rid of the white around that, and just go back to like the regular like add layers icon that you had, and make that the only thing on there, because you don't have profiles yet, you don't have login yet, like because none of that exists yet. Just get to this like really simple thing. Like you should put all of your energy into the ability for people to press that plus sign and just add something to this page. And you just have one layer. There's no, you were talking about the home page layer, right?
Yep.
So whatever your domain is, you share that. Next time you present, you share that to the class, and then everybody can add layers. Right? And but then like that, you would have a product that's actually, it's super simple and it leaves a lot to be desired, but it actually works. It's actually something that people can use.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think there's probably no reason to ever have a blank layer on your site. So just so it's like ultra clear to people when they first get here, you just have like just put the plus sign right there. So the only thing you can do on a blank layer is like add something to the layer. So you press it, and then once you add content to it, that's gone, and it's only in the top right corner, but it's the same icon. So people are like, oh, I know that pressing that icon, you're training them. Like pressing that icon added a layer. So when I see that icon up in the menu bar, I know what it does.
Yeah. Cool.
And so you can even get rid of the properties, right? Like, so you were talking about versioning. Don't be scared to delete all this stuff. Like the idea, you're going to remember again, and you have this, you can save this, but just work on a vision that is like, a version that all it does is it just has a plus button.
Yeah, and that's really nice. When you said like have that plus button on the canvas, I think that makes sense. When we talked about having like each object would represent its own layer. So when you're making a layer, all of these like parts of a layer are going to be unique, and people can browse them and stem off or branch a version. That plus button could actually just be an object, and then when they click on it, they could change the properties of the plus button.
Yeah, totally. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first object, the default object is the plus up button.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's awesome.
I like that idea of the training, like when you click that thing, it's training, so you're going to see that item again and you're going to know exactly what it does.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing you can do when you land on the page, other than maybe you click on that thing and you know, oh.
We've all used apps that like have
Yeah.
tutorials and things like that at the beginning, and if you can make like
And I shared that link the other day that was talking about what does like your empty application look like what happens when you create an account and there's nothing there yet. Like we should think about those like empty content designs, because so often when we're designing we put in these placeholders, and that's really you're combining that concept of like it's empty content with like a tutorial with training, right?
It's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job, man.
If anybody wants to see that video thing, I can get it working in a couple minutes, but I couldn't do it standing up.